Can two souls destined to drift still leave a lasting constellation in each other's sky? Lyra Vaughn believed in constellations more than she ever trusted timing. She had this theory, not just a passing thought, but a bone-deep belief that the universe didn't speak in logic, but in symbols. Not God or fate or destiny. Just patterns of light blinking in a language only the heart could decode. She didn't keep a diary. She kept what she called skywritings, a hand-stitched notebook full of recurring dreams, numbers, colors, overlapping songs in different cities, and strange conversations with strangers that felt like déjà vu. To anyone else, it looked like chaos. To her, it was proof of connection. Her therapist called it a coping mechanism. Lyra just called it living with her eyes open. She didn't believe in fairy tale love. Not anymore. But she did believe in messages. In the idea that some people arrived not by accident, but by design, constellations taking human shape. Which brings us to the night she met Nova Hale. They met on a stranger's rooftop in Echo Park, where someone had thrown together a DIY stargazing night. Half astrology, half chaos. There was a galaxy projector flickering against a water tank, and someone passed out mood rings like currency. Lyra came for the cosmic poetry reading. She stayed because of the boy in the corner, quiet, sharp-eyed, wearing a coat that looked like it had known several heartbreaks. He wasn't performing. He wasn't even pretending to listen. He was sketching in a small leather-bound notebook, cigarette smoldering beside a battered thermos. His entire presence radiated contradiction, distant, but magnetic, like a satellite with unfinished business. She sat beside him without asking. "You look like the kind of girl who writes letters to astronauts," he said, eyes still on the stars. "And you look like the kind of guy who charts escape routes on diner napkins," she shot back. He turned, smiled, like he hadn't in a while. That was how it began. No awkward flirting, no slow music. Just two weirdos decoding the night sky like it owed them answers. His name was Nova. Fitting, she thought. He didn't ask for hers. Instead, she said, "Call me Cassiopeia. I like names that sound like secrets." He paused, then replied, "Then I'm Cetus, the sea monster. The part of the sky everyone avoids." They didn't kiss that night. They just sat shoulder to shoulder, sharing theories about how black holes were maybe just broken hearts that never closed. They weren't normal. Not by any stretch. Nova wasn't a musician or an influencer. He made cosmic maps, stitched together old star charts, radio wave readings, and photographs from deep space telescopes into haunting, experimental art. He called them constellation failures. Lyra was an astrophotographer who never submitted her work anywhere. She took portraits of sky glow and urban constellations that didn't exist yet. She sold prints under a pseudonym and refused to caption them. She said stars shouldn't have bios. They bonded over obscure space missions, lost constellations, and the poetic cruelty of time dilation. Their first date was in a graveyard with a portable telescope. Their second was lying in the back of Nova's car, mapping cloud shapes with chalk on the windows. Their third? A fight about whether humans ruined the sky or simply renamed it. He called her Earth Girl. She called him Moon Boy. He left her notes in her camera bag. "You make me believe Pluto still counts." She left him Polaroids with scribbled coordinates. "Find me here when it hurts." They never labeled what they were. They didn't have to. They were a solar flare, rare, intense, short-lived. Except they kept returning to each other's orbit like it was gravity, not choice. To be loved by Nova was like being abducted by a UFO, euphoric, disorienting, and then suddenly, you're back on Earth with grass in your teeth and no explanation. He'd disappear. No warning. Just absence. The first time it lasted 6 days. The second, 15. The third, 29. And each time he returned, he looked a little more human, a little more hollow. Like the stars were draining him, but he refused to come down. "I get lost in my head," he'd say, by way of apology. "And I keep the light on anyway," she'd reply, knowing it wasn't enough. He never said I love you, but once, when she asked if he believed in aliens, he whispered, I think I was one, until you found me. That night, she cried into his shoulder, not because it was romantic, but because she knew how badly he wanted to disappear for good. Joshua Tree was their breaking point. They drove there on impulse, the sky too clear to ignore. They camped in silence, beneath constellations that had no names in English. That night, he traced a line from her collarbone to her ribs and said, This is my favorite constellation. She almost said I love you. Instead, she said, Let's run away. He blinked. From what? Everything. Nova froze. You don't get it, Lyra. I'm the thing people run from. But she did get it. She knew what it was to want to be consumed. To vanish together. To find a new planet to breathe on. She wanted him to say yes. He didn't. In the morning, she woke up to an empty sleeping bag and a note scrawled on her palm. The stars aren't enough to fix what's broken inside me. He came back 2 months later. Standing outside her apartment at 1:02 a.m., soaked in rain and regret. I got clean, he said, voice brittle. She let him in. For 3 weeks, they tried again. Softer this time, less cosmic, more real. Grocery runs, laughter, her head on his chest while he sketched things that didn't exist yet. But Nova was a disappearing act disguised as a person. He could only stay human for so long before the weight of gravity made him want to leave his skin. She caught him packing one night, notebook, lighter, his vintage astronomy slides. Don't, she whispered. I can't breathe here. I am here. That's what makes it worse. He kissed her temple like a goodbye and left. This time, for good. The call came on a Tuesday. Unlisted number. A soft voice. This is Sienna, Nova's sister. Lyra stopped breathing. There was an overdose. He's gone. No ceremony. No closure. Just the absence of a heartbeat that once echoed in sync with hers. She collapsed in her hallway, screamed into the tiles, clutched her skywritings like they could explain it. But there was no symbol for this. No constellation for being left behind by someone you would have died for. The boy who burned too bright had finally gone supernova, and all she could do was watch from Earth. It's been a year. Lyra doesn't chase signs anymore. But sometimes, in the static between radio stations, she hears his voice. She teaches now, a workshop on cosmic storytelling. She shows slides of constellations people forgot. She doesn't mention Nova. But she wears his old compass on a chain around her neck. One night, after class, she finds a letter in her coat pocket. She doesn't remember putting it there. It's his handwriting. A sketch. 2 stars impossibly far apart, connected by a dotted line. Below it, just one sentence. Even when I disappear, I still orbit you. She folds it carefully, places it inside her journal, and looks up. The sky doesn't answer. But it doesn't need to. He was never her forever. But he was her mirror. Her monster. Her myth. The ghost that lit her from the inside out. Some people leave scars. Some people leave stories. And some? Some leave constellations you name everything after. To love someone like Nova Hale was to be abducted by a star and returned, irreversibly changed. If you love stories that stick with you like old friends, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share to keep them coming. This is Everlore Diaries, where every story leaves its mark.